Lord Fowler, your committee have today produced a report which is critical of the government for failing to make people aware of the impact of digital radio switchover. Could you tell us why that's such an important issue?
Well, it's an absolutely fundamental issue because it means that if you haven't got a radio which can take the digital signal, then you're not going to be able to get the national programmes, BBC 4, Radio 4, Radio 2, Classic Radio. You're simply not going to be able to get them. So you've got to remember also, and this is the other side, you've got to remember at the moment we reckon there are about 50, 100 million sets, old analogue sets, which simply won't get these things. And then you've got the 20 million car radios as well, where you're going to have to fit converters to actually get digital broadcasting. So one way and another, it is a very, very important subject.
And what do you think the steps are that broadcasters and the government need to take now, particularly to ensure that digital radio is as widely available after 2015 as FM is currently?
Well, I think the most important step that the government needs to take is that they need to actually make it quite clear what their policy is. They need to make it quite clear that it's going to be universal coverage in terms of digital, just as it is broadly with FM at the moment. So there can't be any diminution. And I think the second thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to explain this to the public in a way that hasn't been done up to now. There are other things as well. We need, I think, some sort of scrappage scheme, and we certainly need a help scheme to help people, disadvantaged people, to understand and to take the action which is necessary for the switchover programme to go ahead.
Do you think there are lessons that can be learnt from the way digital switchover TV has been handled that could now be applied to radio switchover?
Well, I think the publicity for television was much better than the publicity so far for radio. But I think there is a fundamental difference between television and radio, and that is that you can see in digital switchover for television there are so many advantages. You get the new services. Whereas in radio, I mean, all the opinion polls show that everyone is very happy and satisfied with the FM service. So you're going to have to make the case very well to actually establish what the advantages are. And so far, that case simply hasn't been made.
Finally, Lord Fowler, you were the founding chairman of the Lords Communications Committee, and I understand you'll be stepping down from that role after the election. Is there anything you particularly enjoyed of the committee's work and something you're most proud of over the last few years?
Yes, sadly standing down, but I mean, it's the end of a parliament and I've done it for 5 years. I think it's been an enormous experience. It's been a very enthusiastic committee. And we've done a whole range of inquiries. The ownership of the media, I think, was one of the best reports that we did. But if you go back to the original BBC Charter Committee, I mean, frankly, I think if the government had taken notice of what we said in the BBC Charter Committee, particularly about the structure at the top of the BBC, I think we wouldn't be in some of the problems that we are today. So it's been, been a great experience, and my hope is that this committee will continue, because I think it's established itself, it's established its independence, and it's established its authority, and I think that's very important in the work of the House of Lords.